Good afternoon, everyone. We're going live with Megan today.
Hi, Konika.
Yes, honey. We're going to be talking with your Auntie Megan today.
Wait till everybody gets settled in. Our guest of honor.
Our guest of honor is here.
Let's do this. Hey, Megan, how are you? How are you? We should probably put a disclaimer out.
Oh my gosh.
Our daughter just pooped, like big poop.
I know.
So if you see Leah peel out, yeah, it was. I'm sure everybody heard it. It was intense. So
The life of the baby.
yeah.
Oh, that's fun. If you
Oh,
can't.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So she's gonna tend to the baby, but you and I can get started.
Definitely start. Yeah,
How about
start
that?
up.
So, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are and give us a little intro?
I'm Megan. Hi. I think my best intro will probably be to tell everybody else how I know you guys.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I met Justin and Leah via our mutual friend Chris. So my husband Juan and Chris went to Cal Berkeley together, and you and Chris know each other from living in like Oakland area. Is that right, Justin?
Berkeley. Yeah. So I played ball with Berkeley at Berkeley actually with Chris at the RSF. And
Yeah.
that's how I met Juan too. Juan and I we became really good friends really quick. We just had this affinity for basketball. And he was her husband was a high school athlete, so we bonded over that.
Yep. Accurate. One of those solidifying moments in our relationship was going to Chris's 30th birthday, which was 5 years ago now, like
Oh,
as like
jeez.
2 days ago.
Right.
And that was we stayed at a beach house in one of the California beach cities. I'm not sure even which one. Maybe Santa
Santa
Cruz.
Cruz. Definitely Santa Cruz. I remember that. Yep. Because we went to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk.
That's right. It was the beach boardwalk.
Yeah.
And was the best part was just like it was a bunch of people who didn't necessarily like know each other or had spent more than like a Cal game or a game or a afternoon together, and getting us all into one house. And it was just like I think all of us were like, "You are awesome! You are awesome! This is amazing! I love this!"
Yeah, and we were disconnected. I think. I think the way the house was set up, there wasn't like TVs or anything, so you guys ended up playing like board games. I surfed in the morning, and people went for runs, and it kind of felt like a little retreat.
Yeah, totally. So I think that that was, I think, one of those moments where you're like, oh, this is why we're all together. This is that connection. So that's how I met you guys, or it kind of solidified our relationship. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I've been in SoCal for about a decade. I'm a graphic designer, worked in different places, well, two different places, one in a downtown design firm, and now I'm at your guys' favorite place. I'm Walt Disney Imagineer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Leah goes crazy because you have these little things that you pointed out in the park, and we're like, that's Megan's silhouette. That right there spinning around is Megan. It's like the coolest thing. And then obviously, the last time we saw you, we were at.
Oh, we were at Grand Californian, right?
That's right. We were at the park. Absolutely. So it's only fitting.
Yeah, exactly. That was a really funny day. I don't even know what Juan and I were doing besides having an evening where we were eating there. And I think
I think you were there because of Juan's brother. I think he was there for something. You guys went to go visit some family, and then you guys were in the park because you guys were exiting and we ate.
yeah, that sounds about right. I think we had just seen Justin Bieber.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, who knows?
So funny. It was just like, hey, there's some famous person. And then it was like, hey, it's people I
I
know.
know, yeah, yeah. And so the security was like, "You're not gonna go after them." We're like, "No, we're trying to talk to our friends.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, no, I don't know who that person is. I know these
I
people.
know
So
these people." Yeah,
that's a
that's
nice
awesome.
roundabout intro.
That's a great intro. So yes, thank you for joining us and supporting what we're doing. And we'd love to hear your story, your testimony, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you feel like is on your heart. You know, we had a good primer yesterday. That was really cool. And
Yeah.
if you want to go off of that, please just feel free to just talk whatever you feel like.
Sure, definitely. One of the things that's when you guys first asked me to come and do a live with you, I was just like, I have nothing to say. Like, I don't know why do you me? And pretty immediately, I was just like, there's a reason why people connect. There's a reason why opportunities come up. There's a reason why all of this, all of weird, different little things and pockets of opportunities happen. And I'm just like, okay, I get it. It's usually the things that I don't seek out myself that I realize like, oh, someone's giving this opportunity to me. And that's been very true in my entire life. And that, that rounds out my faith. Like I have faith that I am always on the right road, or at least always pointed into the right direction. That's how I really landed on becoming an Imagineer. I had done on a whim, I had done this one competition and got a call to get on to an internship, God, 10 years ago. Actually, probably very close to 10 years ago this month. And it, something that Morgan was saying a couple of days ago, that a lot of people feel like they are looking for some kind of permission, right? To
Right.
do their calling, to do their thing. She's very much about this VW bus, right? And
Right.
there's no reason for me to have been attracted to this. Like, I didn't grow up with buses. And similar to me, I had no idea what a graphic designer was when I first picked it as a college degree. Um, and I don't really, I was kind of just helping out a friend who wanted to do this imaginations competition, which is how I got my internship. Um, and then I get this random call from Disney saying, hey, do you want to have an interview with us? And I was like, similar to what my experience with you guys, where it's like, I don't know, are you sure you want to? And yeah, like I ended up having to praying a lot about it, because I was just like, yeah, this sounds great and cool and attractive, but is this for me? Like, are you sure? Like, I definitely have those needs for permissions and all of that. Um, and that's where I find myself when I pray. It gives me that calm. It gives me that clarity. It gives me that moment of permission, essentially. But it's just kind of going back to a foundation for me. That's how that and a whole lot of hard work landed me here I am.
Sure. Well, I have a question. So I want to come back to you talking about faith. Did you grow up with that kind of faith? And if you did, how was that instilled in you?
I grew up going to church. I'm Catholic.
Okay.
Um, and going through church as a Catholic, you have these milestones of sacraments in your life where
Sure.
get 2 years of schooling and you go get your first communion, and then it kind of quiets down and you go to church for a little bit. And I was in church choir, but I didn't utilize it. It wasn't something that I was active in. I
Mhm.
was practicing a religion, but I wasn't talking to or with or really strong in, I think, faith. It took, I think, loss in my life to get strong in my faith, to actually realize this is a conversation. This is something more than practicing a religion. Which, by all means, you I'm happy with everyone doing whatever they want to be doing. If you want to practice this religion, if you want to have this faith, as long as you're not out there killing people, I love you, and you know, God bless. I want you to do you. And I had lost my father at 14 and spent a lot of time in a dark place, but also in questioning God, and not like doubt, but more like for what? For what is this?
Right.
And I went into therapy and kind of struggled through that a little bit. And then my best friend had passed about 4 years after that, when right before senior year of high school. And a childhood best friend of mine, we had moved separately, but her losing her life on earth was completely different. She had this ornery personality. She was loud and she was boisterous and she was crazy, and she drove her mom just over a wall. She was just like this massive, massive personality, this massive energy. Always happy, always joyful, always screaming at the top of her lungs in the middle of a restaurant. and, and it's just like, wow, like there are some people who have this passion, this joy, this thing that you can't even put her name to it, right?
Right.
And when she passed, and I went to her graveside, the moment that in that moment I had been struggling with my faith. I was like, am I really a Catholic? You know, I believe in the Big Bang, and I believe in science, and I believe in this, and I don't know if those two things are compatible or not. And then at her memorial, her pastor had always been, you had been talking about her, that she had prayed for a lot of her friends to come to Jesus. And she was an out evangelical Christian. She was in your face. And he was like, you know, the one thing that she never got scared or hung up on was the religious aspect of it, and practicing this and practicing that and doing something a particular way. She was herself, and she had faith, and it clicked. I was like, oh, I can just have faith, huh? So like me struggling with my religion, I realized could be its own separate pathway, but I can always have faith, because that's the part that you don't need any rules with, right? I mean, once you get it, once you realize what's true for you, you just got to keep that faith. And I was just like, huh, thanks for that, I got it. And so she was like, she is this huge inspiration, and I love to share her story. And she's my inspiration for who I am. We had been friends because, of course, we had a very similar, loud, boisterous, ridiculous laugh. But leaning into who you are, leaning into more of what you are, and that becoming a light, that I think is how I can be a light to God. That's how I can be a light for others, so that other people can see, this girl's got joy. What is that? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's been my huge inspiration in this allowance of kind of looking into myself and being more of myself, and allowing that to be like proof, just proof, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You have something?
It really takes you see that in someone, and then
Yeah.
it spreads. It's like a virus, but it's like a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good contagious thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say virus, but it's something
okay.
that can be easily
Yeah.
catchable. Yeah.
Yeah, very contagious.
Very contagious. Let's use that. I like how you allude to joy, and how you understand that you have this light. Obviously, in Matthew, it talks about us having lights, and it's not something we should keep hidden. You know, obviously, you have a beaming smile that like pierces darkness. So we would set that upon the hill, and you do that. Like when
You
we
do.
first met, we'll come back to like first time we met. I knew that you and Leah would get along. You guys are very similar. You guys are very just similar where you're carefree and the world doesn't really affect you because you're that joy. So talk to me about how you spark joy on a daily basis for others, because you have a servant's heart. So you're very empathetic toward people. So I can only imagine that on a daily basis, it's something you think about. It's something where you think about how can I spark joy for somebody? How can I be there for somebody? Kind of walk us through that.
That's the thing. I am constantly trying to figure out how I can show someone love. God is love. And we are called to love each other. We are called to love our brothers. We are called to love our enemies. And I'm constantly aware of the people around me, and I want them to know that I love them. I actually, right when we all kind of got our California orders to be safer at home and stay home and all of that, I was like, oh my goodness, people won't see me day to day anymore. I need to tell them, I need them to now know explicitly that I love them. So I switched my handle to Makesy Love.
Yeah, we saw that.
Specifically for that reason, for that like internal, just whatever that is, that drive, that energy that's just kind of in me. I was like, oh, I won't be able to see their faces. I won't be able to try to make them laugh. And, that's kind of how I was trying to always share love and give love. And, whether that's listening to someone or actually listening to someone when they say to you, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. And you're like,
Dig a little deeper, sure.
what's going on? Love deep dives. I really hate going to parties because I'm just like, this isn't deep enough. Like, I can't dig deep. I want to dig deep. I want to know all of the things.
So you're the person at a party that pulls somebody aside and you deep dive on the couch while everybody's sitting up and like eating snacks, and you're that person.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I make so many people uncomfortable.
Oh, I love it.
So good.
This is what I'm interested in. I want to know all of you. I want to know your heartache. I want to know your joy. I feel like we can't know true joy without heartache, and I don't disqualify any part of that human experience, right? So I'm like, I just want to know. I'm interested. I'm in.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So now that we've established that you have a heart that seeks, right? So you seek those that want, I guess, to share their story. That's a beautiful thing, because more often than not, we know it's people that are looking for somebody to listen to. When it's somebody that says, hey, can we go get a coffee? It's the person that wants to speak. There aren't as many listeners. So now that you are one of those people that you actually listen and you seek that, what have you seen from that? Like, what fruits have you seen? What relationships have you seen? What growth have you seen from the people that you've been able to listen to, and I guess offer some advice?
That's a really interesting question. For me, it's well, let me ask you this. When you were saying like offer advice on my side of it, or offer advice on the side of it of the people who haven't been listened to,
Well, those are two very different questions. I think more often than not, when people ask for advice, it's because they've the person they're asking has been through that situation before, right? So for us, we get a lot of relationship advice because we're married. We're happy. So everybody asks us, and the one question I think we get the most is, how did you guys find each other, right? That's the biggest one. And we swam, so we were lucky. We were in the water and we swam, and we're probably the worst people to get advice from because we're not typical people. So our relationship is not typical. So anybody that watches this, if you're gonna ask us advice about our marriage, our baby, like anything, our advice it's garbage. It's not gonna work for you because we're not typical. So when I say that you give advice, it's part of it's from your life experience, and then
Yeah.
part of it is from wherever you're pulling from, whatever resource that is. Um, we went to a Bible-based school. We went to CBU, Cal Baptist, and they're biblical. So we pull from Scripture quite a bit, and we try and model our life that way. But we're also realists in the sense that we live in a world of sin and things happen. We totally understand that. So we're not at the point where we point fingers. We understand and we try and bring people back to love. So the advice that you give, I mean, you encounter so many different types of people just through work and then the activities that you do. That's the advice that I want to hear. I want to hear the advice that you've given and how relationships have grown from the advice you've given.
Okay. I see. You know, that's funny that that you framed that question that way. I totally get it. I would not tell you right now, knowing that question, I would not tell you that I've ever given advice. I try very hard to, only because it scares me, because I'm like, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I think I very well may give advice in the essence that if I'm having a conversation with someone and there's some trepidation, or there's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, but what are you really? And by doing those deeper dives and by asking the harder questions and by asking what's really happening or going on, I think being a mirror is its own advice. I think people tend to have, of course, people are you know, will be lost in themselves at multiple times. But I think a lot of times it's to know that you're there to listen to them. Someone just needs to know that you're there to love them by standing next to them. And that alone is the, in my instance, like,
Oh, absolutely.
I think a lot of people have their heart telling them something. And that's kind of where I land. So a couple of times, like I was talking to one of my coworkers and they were just like, you know, I don't, you're my therapist. And I'm like, no.
Aww. Are you there, Megan?
Oh wait, hold
But
on.
B,
We're
like,
Buffering.
it won't talk a ton. Oh no.
oh wait, we got you.
Okay.
Okay, you're good. Are we good on your end?
I think we missed a little bit of what you were
We're
saying.
totally good on my end.
Yeah.
I got a call and I was like,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. We got a little bit of lag, but we're good. So please continue.
okay.
Yeah, because we can hear you. The audio is still good. So we're just a visual podcast at this point. We're okay.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But you can
Oh
I
yeah. We can see and hear you. Yeah, you're back to normal. You're great. Yeah.
Yeah.
so I end up just kind of asking that deeper question and end up allowing someone to kind of work through what a mind is. And I try my hardest. The older that I get, I try my hardest to tend to repeat something back to somebody, and I get that right. Am I understanding it? And that tends to allow them to elaborate more.
Sure.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like I never did.
You feel like, yeah. I can totally see that because a lot of times, you're right, when you're talking to someone or someone's asking for advice, they're asking you, what should I do in this situation? A lot of times they know in their heart what they need to do. They just need someone to support them. Be like, you know what? That's, absolutely, like, do that. Or, you're right.
Exactly. Or so often it's like someone doesn't feel seen for so long, and seeing them and looking and straight at them and going, I'm interested in seeing you. Even that alone is a little, I think, scary for some people. And also it gives them that allowance of like, oh, I can be seen, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I see, and that I think enriches my relationships. So I end up having an easier time having small talk once I've gone into the deeper dives with people, because then it's easier to read the people and be like, today doesn't seem good for you, but it also seems like not a day to talk. And it's like, yup, I'm like,
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh,
I like
wow.
that. That makes
That's
sense.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Justin and I talk about it all the time. We're like, there's a difference between those people that you speak to on a daily basis or on a monthly basis, whatever. And you always just talk about like surface level stuff, you know? And your relationship can only go so far when that's all you talk about.
Yeah.
Once you dive deeper and you get to really know who they are and get to know their hearts, then that's when you really get to, you know, spend time with people and move forward in growing together as a friendship or
Yeah.
family or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like I I have a feeling that I may be misunderstood, um, just randomly, whether I'm at work or anywhere. That's my biggest fear. And so in the first time I meet people, I'm going to tell them my entire story and then stuff, because I'm like, now you know how I'm operating. So
Hey, I like that. I mean, that's a really good first impression. So then that way you can tell people your story, and I think that's incredible advice because I think. Oh, okay,
so does
baby.
Gracie.
Our daughter feels the same way. I think as Christians, we we sometimes aren't as outspoken as we should be, right? Whether it's in business or with family. So when you have that first impression, um, maybe you don't say it sometimes. I know some Christians might feel even ashamed. Talk to them about that before, and they say like, "Hey, I wish I was more upfront about my faith." And I always said, and this is similar to you, where if you radiate joy and you smile, like they're gonna know, right? Like I'm sure like you have friends who have probably not told you they're Christian, but like
oh yeah,
you know, yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Or maybe what is it that they believe themselves? But little by little, I'm like, well, I don't know about you, but I think this is definitely from God. Like
Oh sure.
if I get, and it's just like, I'm just going to throw that in there and just let you like take it or not take it. And I'll do it again a little bit later in our relationship together.
Aww.
What advice can you give somebody is that is seeking faith or looking to keep faith? Because you stumbled on faith like that. Like that wasn't something that you grew into, but rather it was almost like an epiphany to you, where your father and then your best friend, and then you got faith from like that brokenness. We always say broken is strength, and we always say something breaks you to make you stronger. And your faith was born from that. So I'm sure you have family and friends that see you have tremendous faith. I'm sure you get that question all the time. How do you respond to that question?
So the question being, what advice do you give people who are weakened in their faith and or trying to faith? I think you have to you the other person have to already be in that point in your heart where you're seeking. People don't ask that if they're not already seeking, and people who are
Right,
asking
sure.
are they already have that hope. The last thing that we can ever give away, we have to actively give it away, is hope. That doesn't, we can always say, oh, I'm hopeless, my heart is so heavy. Like right now, my heart has been incredibly heavy watching months of this, you know a week of what our country is currently going through, knowing that there's 400 years of history of what it's currently going through. Like my
Right.
heart is heavy, and I it's heavy. I want to have that hope again. I want to have that joy again, but it's not gone. It's that my hope is so strong. I'm already reaching out for that joy again, for that love, so that we can get back to sharing that love. So I'm like, I feel like the people who are at that point of what do I do, and I'm losing that faith and I'm losing that hope. Um, Surely there are people out there who are losing it and walking away, but I don't think people who do that in an act of pain are even, I don't think that their souls say, I don't. I think their souls say, I'm in so much pain. You've promised me more, and I'm not getting more. And it's a selfish kind of thing. Um, I think it's a cry for help. And I think that we, as people who kind of get that side, that you have to have that double-edged sword in life. That's how you know what beauty is. That's how you know what sweetness is. We're the lucky ones who we get to show love to people regardless, and be like, I get it, and I'll pray for you, and I'll be for you. If you don't want that, then I don't want that for you right now, because you're not there. But I think seeking out human connection, seeking out, and us on the other side of it, just giving that love. Like, I'm gonna love you regardless, and I'm gonna be here and chat with you regardless. And we don't have to talk about it right now. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
I I've gone through doubt in my life for sure. And I get to points where I'm lackadaisical in my faith. But
Yeah.
I I don't know. That's a powerful question. What do you do?
I
Oh,
mean,
hi.
it's a tough question. It's a really tough question, especially now with the way things are. We'll admit that in the week that we started doing this, I think we started doing this. This has been like the second week that we just started
The lives.
the
I
lives.
think so, yeah.
And the response has been positive, but then some of the responses have actually been abrasive in the sense where um, Christians have been like, "I can't believe you're taking that stance," and we're like, "What are you talking about?" And they're saying how, and we're not trying to spark anything here. We're not trying to have that conversation. Um, but as Christians, it's heartbreaking, very heartbreaking, because I guess scripture is one way, right? And you can tell people how it is, but being abrasive never works. That's just what it is, right? So even if you believe something versus the actual scripture truth, you can't give it to somebody in an abrasive fashion and expect it to work.
Right.
So we're seeing that in the past couple of weeks in the area that we live in. We see that, and we're like, guys, like Jesus didn't come down here throwing Bibles at people. This is not how that works. Like Jesus actually went to the Pharisees and said, look, the Pharisees are all about scripture. They're doing it incorrectly. Jesus is like, don't be a Pharisee. Don't be that guy over there. You ain't trying to do that. You're trying to do things in love. Like you just said so. God is love. So when we look at all these things and we look at how divisive our nation has been, for us, it breaks our heart to see Christians who are either silent and they're on the sidelines, or the ones that just don't get it, and they're trying to be staunch in their beliefs, and they're trying to mute and not listen to things. And we're like, you guys, this is when you're needed the most. So for you to be able to be that person for people to listen to you and be reliable and say, hey, I can talk to Megan and I feel safe in this zone, that's extremely rare. And that's something that we're extremely thankful that you provide that to your friends and family. Like we see that, absolutely. Every time that we gather with you, we've had nothing but just the deepest, dense, most beautiful conversations. And it's not passing in weather or what ride is at Disneyland, but you guys get deep. And it's definitely something we know is a treasure. So I guess the next question coming from that is, with all these conversations that you have, what is your hope? God's given you a gift to be an incredible active listener, and you joyfully use that gift. what is your hope in the next, I guess year or so with relationships, and then like the long term goal? Like what do you hope to see in these relationships that you're a part of? What kind of growth do you hope to see?
Oh, I allow myself to be loud. I allow myself to be joyful, out loud, so that it shines light on. I want to to any glory to be pointed up. I you know that's what my main motives are. But that's it. I don't have joy with all of the pain and all of the loss that I've experienced in my life because I don't have God. Like, I'm just like, that's the reason why I can have such pain and loss and struggle and struggle with depression is and yet be so joyful and so happy and so just boisterous is because of that. So I'm like, I want that to be visible. I want people to be like, she's got something, uh, and let that spark their curiosity and let them, and I want people to feel comfortable with me. I want people to know that I love them. That's it. I just want people to know I love them. I love people so very deeply and so very quickly. Um, Juan, actually, when we first started dating, I would call people love. See you later, love. Okay, thanks, love. And they
That's
were
what a wife does.
right, and they're
Yeah, you guys
friends.
are the same.
Yes.
Like Juan would just be like, why? Like, he's like, am I not your boy? Like, I'm your boyfriend.
Am I
Like,
not your love?
Right, sure. Yeah, yeah.
love, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh boy. I go, I got all kinds of love. I got so much. I'm like, you're not getting any less. Like, this is
Oh.
3 weeks into our relationship. It was just like, why are you calling that person love? And I'm like, because I love them and I want them to know that. I mean,
It's still a valid question. He's right, Yeah, that's funny. For any other person, it's a valid question, but we get it. We know why.
We get it.
We totally understand. We get it. You get it.
Because you love them. Yeah.
I love it so very much that, and so I, having lost my dad really, really early on, and then like I essentially transferred that rock, that foundation of family. I transferred a lot of that over to my grandma, and because she's my grandmother, and she is so much more older than my dad, I'm highly aware that every single day I may not get her anymore, and so by transferring a lot of that or growing that, I'm like, I love you. I say it at the beginning of the conversation. I say it in the middle of the conversation. I say it at the end of the conversation. I call her every Tuesday. If I don't call her on a Tuesday, I'm like, oh my God, Grandma, I'm sorry. What do you know? Happy Wednesday, Grandma.
Oh, that's so
But
sweet.
I want, I tell people as much as I can, as much as I feel like they're comfortable with it, and I'll test it every once in a while. I'm like, I love you. And let's let it be. But yeah, that's what I want my people to know, that I love them.
So, you use the word joy a lot. So I assume that you know the difference between joy and happiness, because you understand joy.
Yeah.
Where does your unconditional joy come from?
I mean, it's a choice, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, joy is abstract. I totally understand. That's really hard. But unconditional joy is the rarest of gems. You
Yeah.
you seldom find people like that, because usually there's an ulterior motive. Especially if you were to equate it to business. If you have a business relationship, it's like tit for tat, right? So unconditional joy is like the 180 of that. It's the absolute difference, where you unconditionally are joyful for someone. So for us, we're unconditionally joyful in the sense that we want you to experience Jesus when you surf. So if you don't know how to surf, we have a board, we we have wetsuits, and we have a beach. And if you're brave enough to take us up on the offer, it's there. That's our unconditional joy, right? Because for us, we experience God in His love in the ocean. Like we feel His presence there. So for you, where did unconditional joy start for you? When did you figure out like, wow, like I have so much joy in my life, and I say I love you to all these people, and I actually mean it. Like you mean that you love these people.
Yeah.
When were you cognizant about that? When did you realize, yeah, I have unconditional joy for people?
Huh. That's a phenomenal question. I don't know if I have one point. I don't know if I have that. I know when I had faith, I have got a line in the sand when it clicked, right?
Right.
And I don't know if I was able to vocalize having joy or coming to that in a single incidence where that was something that I knew. I think it's something that I'm constantly learning about myself in the sense that it's like, oh, I do have that. There's a resilience. There's a resilience to life's pain, and a choice that you make constantly that allows you to recognize the fact that you're blessed. Your pain is a blessing. Your struggles are a blessing. I'm constant when I'm suffering, when I'm going through a bout of depression, which I totally do. It is not without the sun in both senses. It is not without that light because I know I know that there's more. I know that there's better, and I know that I'm being there's a phrase. I'm like by the fire. I'm being forged in the fire.
Right.
I
Oh.
like I know whatever pain I'm going through, it's for a better light somewhere later, and it doesn't have to be now. And that's one of the things that I do when I'm in my times. I prayer and try my best to feel my heart, not so that I get joy again because of how sweet it is, but in the sense of I sit in prayer and I'm like, I know I'm thankful for this pain because I know at some point you're saving me from something worse. I know when I'm running to go to like the total 180 opposite. I know when I'm running late to go to work and I'm frustrated and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah, sure.
that I'm supposed to be late. I'm not supposed to be on the road. I'm not supposed to take that route. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to run into somebody else. I know that every interaction I have, I know every job that I have, every person I work with, whether they like me or they don't,
Yeah.
I know that it's on purpose. I know
I know. I
they're supposed
still
to
I
be in
still
my
hear
life.
you. You're
Paused.
good.
I think you're paused, but that's okay.
You're paused on your end.
We can still hear you, I think.
If I can still hear you, or you. Oh, you came back. You're good.
Oh.
You're still, yeah, you're good.
Okay,
Okay,
I don't know
I
if
got
you asked
another
me.
question for you. Yeah, I got another one for you. So,
Okay.
you're self-proclaimed boisterous and outgoing and extroverted and just this ray of sunshine that's bursting. That is you in a nutshell, and you love it. What advice can you give to somebody who is exactly like you, but is going through a time where they're feeling down or they're feeling that they're being quieted and they want to dim their light for whatever reason? Maybe they're being as loud as you, and then somebody persecutes them or makes fun of them, and then all of a sudden they recluse back into their shell. And they don't want to be that way anymore because they don't want to draw attention or they don't want to be made fun of. What encouragement can you offer somebody?
There's a lesson in it. That there's a lesson that's made for them in that moment of someone has quieted me. The circumstance is requiring my quietness. There's some lesson there to be heard, and I think that will differ per person, per situation. But I truly think that you know, anytime anyone goes through anything, that there's something that you're supposed to be listening to, you know, and that you do have to be quiet in those moments, and that's okay. And I don't think that that means that you can't get back to um, that happiness and that boisterousness, or that it won't be better at the other side of it. But yeah, I think that if someone's feeling like they're being quieted, and let's say, for instance, that it feels wrong. Let's say that someone's being quieted because of some uh, injustice. That I think requires you to find, if you're not living a life where you have a community, I think that requires you to look somewhere else to change something that you can change. That's, you know, going to a church if you're not currently attending a church. That's going, um, you know, getting into a different group, or going outside, or, you know what I mean? Like there's a change I think that you can capitalize on, that, you know, seeking that community. I think it's truly.
I like how you use the word community, because community is something that resonates with us all the time. It's something that we encourage and we see, because we truly believe when two or three gather, God's there. So, talk to us about the power of community, and what you see in community, what you see when people gather, and how you cherish community.
You know, I that's funny because I will be honest, I don't have a community I'm currently a part of, in the sense of, uh,
Well, your work
Your
community,
Disney community.
yeah, and your Disney Imagineers, and all, like you guys have deep relationships. So I would consider that not just a community
Yeah.
out of obligation, but I think you guys truly and affectionately care for one another.
oh, that's very accurate. That is 100% accurate.
Then that is community. There you go. That is community.
I do. You know, I, so at work, we have this women's group, that was started about a year ago. And, you know, it is not a boy bashing group. It is just a group, like, you can say, you've got one quality, I've got this other quality, let's do it, like, let's join. And oh my goodness, the conversations that come out of that, the support that comes out of that, you know, we may have disagreements, and we may have, you know, a different way of wanting to achieve, but we are all 100% in support of the growth and the progress, and the we got to do better across the board, just whatever it is, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, whether it's personal at professional. I was describing yesterday that for me, I don't have a professional self. I am what you get. I am going to cry. I am going to be I'm going to, you know, use big words when I've got the big words to use. Like, it's just, this is all I've got. I don't separate that, right? So,
Right.
I try to recognize the qualities of genuine whatever. If you are a genuine human being, I'm attracted to you. I want to be next to you, because that's what I want. I just want that honesty. I want that realness. When I'm afraid that you're putting like a front up, then I'm like, but why? And so
Yeah.
that is, I think, the community that I am very blessed with having, at work, is we've got a bunch of crazy, funny, nerdy. Oh, we're so nerdy. Oh, we're
Oh,
so
we're so nerdy.
That's your job, though. You guys are meant to be nerdy. That's fine. You get paid to be
Yes.
nerdy. That's
You get.
awesome.
Oh my gosh.
That's the
People
dream. That's the dream.
and like we watch as an office, we almost all watched The Mandalorian together and just fawned over Baby Yoda like no tomorrow. And it was just like,
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
if I had my Baby Yodas with me, I'd get them, but they're downstairs and take too much time. But oh my God, they're so awesome. Anyway, um, you know, so encouraging that, being in an environment that,
See, there we go. We're good too. Okay, we got we'll have Baby Yoda hang out. Sorry, we didn't mean to cut you off, but please
I'm so sorry, Megan.
please continue. Please continue. We'll just have him hang out for a second.
This is the best moment of my life. Hi. Seriously, there has been nothing better in the entire 4 months than this moment right here.
There you go.
Oh yes.
A lot of energy.
A lot of energy.
I don't even know where I was going. Just this, I'm so blessed in being in this environment now, and I truly believe that you attract that, like attracts like.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, amen.
Yeah, I had been in a previous office where I was so loud, and people were just like, "Dude, this girl is loud," and it was just not cool. No one liked it. No one jived with me, and I was just like, "I'm still here, guys." Like, hello.
I'm still gonna be myself.
Yeah, and I'm still going to be myself because I can't be anything else. But that actually rounds over to the other question. I was quieted and I didn't like it. And I knew I was learning a lesson. I knew I was there and being quieted for a reason. And I had to lean in as much as I could to try and understand what that lesson was. And whether it was just gaining experience or gaining a way of learning how to handle people who don't see eye to eye or who don't care about you as a human. Because there are people out there who don't care about you as a human. And wow, it's hard to see. But gosh, it makes my new work environment so sweet. So sweet.
Okay, last question. Thanks for dropping in, Baby Yoda. We gotta go. So thanks, Baby Yoda. I don't want him to distract you. What advice can you give anybody that's gonna watch this that is seeking wholeheartedly Jesus? What advice can you give anybody seeking Jesus?
I want to answer 100% correctly, and so I'm nervous. And I know that there's not accurate,
One.
And
There are many answers.
there are. What I'm hearing in my heart is to not be afraid to be yourself. So if you're currently on that road of seeking Jesus, do it and do it and be you out loud. You are rare and you are wanted, and you that is enough. You're worth it. You're worth, like in my story, I've leaned in who I am. Tell me if I'm paused.
Right.
Okay, no, I'm not paused. I see myself paused. And
oh wait, I think you're cutting out.
You're paused.
Test. Back. Are we good? Oh, okay. We can see that. We're good. Okay.
Can you hear me? I can hear
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yep. Yeah, I think truly that best advice is to know that you're not perfect and you don't have to be perfect because you're perfectly you, and that's all that we need. We need more of you as the individual. Lean into you and don't be afraid to say it out loud. Do you have to be one of those anything? Do you have to be anything other than yourself? No, you don't. That's my
Come as you are.
Yeah.
Come as you
Yeah.
are.
I love that. That's
Very
exactly
good.
the message that you have been sharing this time. Come as you are, because if you try to be anything else, you are, people say, "Oh, I'm not ready to come to Jesus yet. Oh, I am too filthy in this area of my life. I need to fix this first. I need to do this first." And you'll never come if you keep,
You will
Saying
never.
that to yourself. So I love that message. So good. Thank you,
That's
Megan, for sharing.
Well, Megan, thank you for dropping in and joining us and our baby Yoda.
Baby.
And our baby. Thank you. Yeah, so baby and baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
We appreciate you coming by and talking story and always supporting us. So we pray that you continue to do what you do as well, because you have an incredible ministry where you get to talk with your coworkers and provide them with just insight and joy and everything. So thank you for your support. We truly appreciate it.
You are a gem. We love you.
I hope you guys reach so many more people with this. I love that you're doing it. So I'm very humbled and very happy to be a part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, same. We are so humbled that you are here with us.
Bye, Auntie Megan.
Bye, Auntie May.